have, you see, in a business that don't have standard implemented, or where they can see something is being done, then they don't know when it is done. Businesses that run on this, businesses that run on the idea that they don't know when they should be done, they don't know the standard that can be able to identify that when they are done, they'll be spending money on resources, they'll be spending money on time, and they'll be wasting money on repetition without actually getting into their objective. Just because they don't have a clearly defined standard that this is when we are done, or this is the quality we are aiming for, or this is the time to accept this or submit the project. So businesses that don't know all this, they will discover that they spend a great amount of time not being able to accomplish anything. That means customers or clients will continue to return their work. And this is what I want to address in this. I want to tell you three ways to be able to know the standards of your work, or define the standards of your work in a way where everybody in the business understands this, and everybody in the business work towards it. When I say everybody in the business work towards it, is that nobody works on vibes. Nobody just do things with their own personal opinions and say this is how it should be done. Everybody knows this is what we are expecting from ourselves, and everybody know why we are expecting this from ourselves. So the number one of them is quality standards. Quality standards, when I say quality standards, we tend to always want to judge things on what we can see. People can't hit a target they can see. People will never be able to hit targets they can see. And that is why we as businesses must be able to have references, or must be able to know what quality looks like. We don't want to have that based on our own we don't want to have that based on our own subjective sense. We want to have that based on our own objective sense, because at the end of the day we are not working towards ourselves. The client is not paying us for our own subjective reasons. The client is paying us for a whole objective reasons. That means whatever we do must be able to whatever we do must be able to be reasonable on all grounds, on all arenas, on all perspective. You understand? So business will have that quality standard where people can see this thing and say, oh, this looks good, this is quality, this is standard, and they don't have any, like, it doesn't have to be like coming from a subjective place. So what do we call quality standard? What is the example of quality standard? We say quality standard is like design quality guidelines. So businesses must, if you want to have a quality standard in your business, you must have design quality standard. That means something everybody can look at and say, oh, this is it. Or design quality guidelines, where we say this is what looks good, this is why it looks good, and this is what we feel everybody's going to accept. The second one is coding standard. That means if you work in tech, like, you have to have a coding standard where you say this is what we want from our client, or this is what we are going to give to our client. This is a standard we are withholding for our clients to get there. You understand? The third is customer service standards. We normally see businesses where their customer service is trash, where we can't even get our problem across to them, and they can solve them without any like word infiltration or all those kind of things. So businesses must understand what is our customer service standard, and how can we hold this standard regardless of whatever emotions is involved. You get? So businesses must have this. Then they call brand guidelines. Brand guidelines is that this is what our brand is expected, or this is what we expect from our brands. This is what we think our brand should be able to create. This is the kind of standard we want to hold in the public perception about our brand. We must have that. We must know this is what we want. We must know this is what we deliver. Businesses must be able to have that. You get? The second one is product quality checklist. Product quality checklist is like, if this thing is not what our checklist, we are not shipping it, we are not pushing it out there to the public. They must understand this is what product quality looks like. This is what we can be able to proudly say it is coming from us. You understand? So businesses that don't have this will tend to judge quality based on subjective reasons, which is no good. So the second one is process standard. When I say process standard, we're talking about how like how should the work be done. When clients give us some work, or when we get work from customer, how are we going to approach this work? How are we going to look at it? What are we judging this work on? The process that it should be done. Businesses must have or define the process on how they approach every service, on how they approach every work they do. And if you don't have that process, everyone in your business will work on vibes. Everyone will work on like, oh, I feel this is great, I feel this is nice, I feel they have to accept it. No, that is not how you go. And the way you go about it is examples of process standard is SOPs, approval workflows, step-by-step procedures, checklist, and handover procedures. You must be able to have all this in your business in a way where you can be able to tell people, or you can be, or everybody in the business, the employees and the managers and everybody must go through this process in how to get the job done. You get? So nobody in the business is actually working on vibe, because without a process standard, every employee invents their own method. You understand? And which is wrong at the end of the day. If this person can do it this way, another person do it some other way, there's no consistency in how the work is done. There's no consistency in how the work gets delivered from A to B. There's no consistency at all. You understand? So the third one is acceptance standard. Acceptance standard is, how do we know the work is complete? Because in some business, especially in the tech era, especially in the tech space, where we don't know when the work is complete, or sometimes we feel like we have to add more feature for the client so the client can be satisfied. But no, every business needs to have acceptance standard, and that acceptance standard has to be communicated between the business and the client. This is where everything gets done. This is what we are doing. All the checklists must be done. For acceptance standard to be able to have its place in the business, it must have this definition of done, popular in software development, just like I said. It must have a QA checklist. It must have a client sign off criteria. That is where you are communicating the process. You are communicating like, this is where we see this process is done. So we don't go about going round and round and round and round on the process. This is where we see this thing is done. And it has to be established. You understand? And testing requirements. Okay, this is where we say, this, if this can do this, then we are done. If this can get to this result, then we are done. That checklist has to be in place. Then a completion checklist. Like completion checklist, like you on your own end, all the things you said in your process standard, all the procedures, have you checked those lists out? So if everything is being checked out, then okay, this project is done. We can submit this project. We can submit this project to the client. We can push out this project out there. So all these things has to be put in place. This is how you define standard in your business. This is how you stick to standard. This is how you own standards in your business. And when you do it this way, you can figure out that you reduce the repetition of going back and forth with clients. You also reduce wasting time and resources on the project, and everything works freely. So I hope this has helped you.